So, welcome to the fourth edition of Chai and Chat with Mohini. I'm Mohini Singh. Today we'll meet someone who went from fighting battles in the cockpit to facing challenges and battles on Parliament Hill. Stephen Fuhr has literally made history in the Kelowna area, and some say he pulled off a political miracle by winning an MP seat for the Liberals not once, but twice. And only once before in recent memory has the Okanagan area had a minister represent this region. Please join me in welcoming the Minister of State for Defence Procurement, that's a mouthful, Stephen Fuhr. Welcome.
Welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Before we get chatting, please have some chai.
Yeah, it's amazing. I had a couple
Sips
before you gave me the opportunity.
This comes to us from Samosa Place.
It's very good.
Right here in Springfield. Isn't it good? Yes,
very good.
They're very good at supporting
Thank
us.
you.
Minister, my first question, it'd be remiss of me not to start with this. With everything that's happened with the US and Greenland, how does that affect the Canadian Arctic?
Well, I mean, we're an Arctic nation, there are a number of them, and the Arctic is becoming more and more interesting for a whole host of reasons to a whole host of other countries. China being one of them, Russia, well, they're an Arctic nation as well, arguably.
Yes.
And that passageway is going to eventually open up to a place where it can be navigable 12 months of the year. It's not there yet, but it will be over time. And moving goods and services around the world or getting around the world is of interest to everybody. So, a part of, it's been a big chunk of ice for many, many years, and it's moving to a place where that's not going to be the case. And, we, Canada, have a big chunk of that real estate. And, that's Canadian territory, and it will be a topic of discussion moving forward.
And is that going to be high on the defence agenda? Because after all, we have a very sparse population there. And I dare say the radar detector and the ships, or the one ship that's there, may not be enough to protect our nation.
No, we do have a presence in the north. It isn't that big, but it is, it's something, and we are going to invest heavily in the north moving forward. Not just for defense, but resource development, deep water ports. There's a whole host of reasons why we need to be in the north. And you'll see some pretty heavy investments moving forward to fortify our position in the north.
Do we have to worry now with all this going on with Greenland?
I don't necessarily, I'm not an alarmist here, but what we're seeing, not just in Greenland, but geopolitics is a lot different this year than it was last. The United States is stepping back what we would all consider its traditional place in the world, and it just doesn't want to do those rules anymore. So middle powers like Canada, a number of countries in Europe, Japan, Australia, Nordic countries, we need to come together to occupy that space. We have to do it together because the U.S. is so big. They don't want to be there. And if the middle powers don't come together collectively to occupy that space, somebody that may not share our values will take that position. So the North is a big part of the conversation, again, for not only for movement of goods and services around the world as it opens up, but critical minerals, resources, and Canada is going to have to be in a position to defend its northern claims, and not only that, but some of these resources that we want to develop these resources and make sure that we can get them
for ourselves.
Well, we want them for ourselves, and we want to export. I mean, we have a lot of things the world needs, and we have to get access to those things, and we're going to have to reinvent ourselves economically. Going back to this U.S. thing, it's not just a defense question. We have been very, very reliant on the United States economically. I think that relationship has been mutually beneficial, but they don't want the same relationship with us they had last year. So we're going to have to come up with a way to reinvent ourselves economically. We have lots of friends in the world. Everybody wants to work with us. So that's a good thing. We just have to make it happen. And we're pivoting very, very quickly to open up new markets, make sure that we get our businesses involved in different supply chains, and to make sure that our economy now can pivot to be less reliant on the U.S. and more resilient in its own right.
Thank you. On Chai and Chat, we try and focus a little bit on the story behind the headlines. So I want to pivot over to you. You have gone from being a fighter pilot to now shaping our country's defense policy. It's a huge transition. What did you learn as a fighter pilot that brings that skill set over to this portfolio?
Being a pilot in general is a lot of it is risk management, right? You have to. There's all sorts of things you have to think about. You have to prioritize. You have to make decisions sometimes based on minimal information. You have to manage risk. I mean, all those things. I mean, I flew corporately. I flew in the military. I'm still a private pilot. So, all those skills that you learn as a pilot to keep yourself out of trouble and to be safe and to do all the right things, those are transferable skills. So
Not crash and burn.
and not crash and burn. Nobody wants to do that. But it is helpful. Prioritizing things, like the amount of information that comes across my desk every day now is pretty substantial. And I have to prioritize like what needs my immediate attention. What can I move right now? Like we're in a place now where we have to, like I said, shift, pivot with our economic development. This Defense Investment Agency, the one that I'm running right now, is a new agency. Didn't exist before. It's to make sure that we can get defense equipment and tools to the Canadian military, which we're also trying to grow. We need to get the recruitment numbers up, which they are. We need to get more people involved, and they need new and modern equipment.
And frankly, you're the hottest ticket in Ottawa because you have one of the largest budgets.
The budget was generous to us, but I have got that. This role is actually much more than just delivering for the military, which is a huge part of this role. There's no question about it. But I have to turn this into economic activity for the country. If we're going to invest an additional $82 billion over 5 years, additional monies into defense procurement, I need to see some economic return to Canadian business. So not only do we have to make sure that our military gets what it needs to do the jobs we ask the uniformed people in the military to do, I need to turn that investment into tangible economic growth for country. And it couldn't matter more than now, given what's going on with the United States. So it's a big job.
Minister, you obviously have the confidence of the Prime Minister. How much pressure is that?
Well, you serve at the pleasure. So, I mean, the day that, any prime minister is not happy with any given minister, there's lots of very competent people in my caucus. I'm sure any prime minister would move on. Yeah, it's a real privilege to be in the group that I'm in with Mark Carney. I think he is absolutely the right guy for the right time. I mean, he's run the banks of two G7 countries, the central banks of two G7 countries. He knows a lot of people in the world, a lot of the European leaders he knows personally from his previous jobs. Politics is all about relationships. It just is. So to have a person that is so competent on the economic side, which is really one of our biggest challenges right now, given what the U.S. is doing. So in the direct competency of what our issues are, which he is, and then to have those relationships with the people that we're going to need to lean on here as we build ourselves up differently, we couldn't have a better person as Prime Minister right now. So I'm lucky to be at the table with Mark Carney, and I'm really thankful that he asked me to do this job.
So you have served under the previous Prime Minister, Prime Minister Trudeau, and Prime Minister Carney. What is the difference between the two Prime Ministers and your comments on that?
Well, it's hard for me to comment, and the reason I say that is when I served in the 42nd Parliament, I was the MP of Kelowna Lake Country at the time. Now it's Kelowna. And although I was an MP is a representative of the community. And did I sit in the same room as the Prime Minister often? Of course I did, at caucus and other times. If I needed him for something, would I call him? Would he answer? Yeah. If I meet with him maybe personally one-on-one a couple times a year. But I didn't really have the same relationship as I do with this Prime Minister, and that's facilitated by the position that I have. When you're an MP, you aren't part of the government of Canada. You may be an MP in an opposition. You may be an MP in the governing party, but it's not until you're a minister or secretary of state or a minister of state that you're in the government of Canada. So I just have a lot different relationship with the leader, in this case Mark Carney, than I did with, at the time, Prime Minister Trudeau. And they're very different. I mean, one's, they're just very different. I think Prime Minister Trudeau will go down. People will look back on some of the massive, big social policy changes that happened under his watch. And I will give you one. There's many examples, but one is Canada Child Benefit.
Yes.
That is a game changer for people in Canada. That was one of many. So I think people will look back on Trudeau fondly. I think Mark Carney is absolutely the right guy for the right time, as I mentioned. And it will be a challenging 2026, not just for Canada, but for the world. Having the biggest economy and the biggest military, and you can measure the states in many different ways. Totally change the way it does things, and move from the way it used to operate to the new way it does business, which is very transactional, and not want to occupy the space it traditionally did, upsets a lot of apple carts, and ours is just one of them. And I would say, because we are so geographically close, and because we have just been so integrated with the U.S. for such a long time, supply chains, families, you name it, socially, everything. It means that we're going to have to do things a lot differently than what we're used to, and we're totally up to it. Every time Canada has had a challenge, it's risen to the occasion. This will be no different.
What does a day in the life of Stephen Fuhr look like on Parliament Hill?
Well, it depends what day you're talking about. I have my normal MP duties, which are very important to me, and of course, why I got elected here is to represent the people of Kelowna. So I am super fortunate to have great staff who know this community well, and I'm very well served. And so is the community by these people that work in the office here in Kelowna, and I have people on the Hill. Up until the last couple of weeks, or maybe a couple of weeks before Christmas, a lot of my time was either intervening in things that needed to happen here, flagged to me by the staff here, and we're building out this agency. This agency, Defence Investment Agency, didn't exist.
Yeah.
Many governments wanted to centralize defence procurement. Conservatives, Liberals, it never happened because it was very, very difficult to do. And we got it done. So right now, the Defence Investment Agency is the contracting authority for the Government of Canada for any defence procurement over $100 million. And there's lots of them. And
So I just have two more questions.
yeah.
One being, at the end of the day, you've only just got into this role. It's less than 8 months?
8 months, yeah.
8 months. So what do we in Kelowna see in terms of, if economics is the economy is the key focus here, what do we see? What changes do we see? Where do we see growth?
Well,
What are you bringing to us?
Yeah, well, glad you brought this up. So just more broadly, there's three primary pillars to helping our economy pivot from where it was to where we need to go. One is major projects. I won't talk about a lot of that because that's not my file, but we've got half the major projects that have been announced or advanced to the Major Projects Office are in British Columbia. You can look them up online, but that's a pretty good start for BC, let alone Canada. The other pillar is building Canada homes, which is Gregor Robertson's file. We've got a housing problem. Canada, the federal government's going to get involved in helping the province and the municipalities with housing. That's jobs created to build houses and infrastructure. And then the third one is defense investment. Like I said, an additional $82 billion over 5 years. And in addition to the money that we've already spent, I need to resource the Canadian Armed Forces while I grow our military industrial complex here in Canada. We know there is lots of companies in the Okanagan and in British Columbia that share that space. And we have a great aerospace ecosystem here in Kelowna as one example. So there'll be opportunities for all these businesses to either participate directly or indirectly in this big investment in defense.
This comes from a viewer who was really keen I ask you this question.
I know what's coming.
Are we going to stay with F-35s?
Right, I'll just tell you where we're at right now. We have committed contractually to 16 F-35s. They're being built right now in Fort Worth, Texas. And the project is being reviewed. There's lots of things to think about. The government has not made a decision, but yes, we're committed to the F-35. The question is what that will look like moving forward, and that hasn't been decided yet.
Finally, Mr. Minister, sorry, you're away a lot, and you're in a minority government. So how do you juggle your constituency duties, your people on the ground here in Kelowna, and your requirements to be in Ottawa, and then to be traveling internationally?
It's particularly difficult now. We have a minority government because we have to keep the numbers in Ottawa all the time to keep the government going. So I can't do my ministerial travel that often when the House is sitting because we need the numbers in Ottawa. That means that I have to do that travel, and I have to do it on time when I would either be back in the riding. How do I manage it? I take a lot of night flights, and I have great staff here. The key to doing this, and I talked to other ministers who've been doing this for a while, and the key is having the right people to support you and make sure that they can do the day-to-day things and they flag the things that need my attention as quickly as possible so I can get to them. So great staff is the key, and obviously I don't get a lot of time to myself.
Thank you so much for making time for us. And thank you all for watching Chai and Chat with Mohini. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.